like I said, I'm gonna be using a horizontal plane on my painting. And let's get started. I think we can get started with the actual bird, and then after we can do the background. So the first colors I would need, I think we're gonna start with just the very basic colors. We can mix a very toned down blue, and we can draw with that gray blue. So let's get started. So you can use any kind of blue that you have. I'm gonna use this one, brilliant blue. I'm also going to use white. A little bit of yellow, blue, white, yellow, and red. If you have black, leave it on the side. We might use it later on. So the very first color I'm going to mix is blue. So this color, I want it to be very soft. So when I put other colors on top, it will get covered. I'm just putting the colors in my palette here, and we'll mix it together. So these are the colors I have in my palette first. Blue, white, a little bit of red, and a little bit of yellow. So I'm gonna get started mixing. So blue, white, a little, just a tiny bit of yellow, and a drop of red. So the reason I'm putting red and yellow into my blue color is, if you remember the color wheel, to make a color darker, you put the opposite color. So the opposite of blue is orange. So red and yellow make orange. Not necessarily making it darker, but tone it down, not so bright. So I'm gonna start mixing. So this blue is very strong, very bright. So I'm gonna add more orange, which is yellow and red. If your color looks too green now, then you put too much yellow. So you need to add more of the other colors. So you see how the color looks more gray now? because anytime I add the opposite color according to the color wheel, my color will look more grayish. This color does not have to be perfect. This is just a nice subtle shade just to start our drawing. So I'm gonna mark a few lines. So how big or how tall I want my bird to be. This is the top of the head. And maybe the belly goes here. And the tail goes all the way down here. This does not have to be perfect. If you make a mistake, that's okay. We can put paint over it after. So you see how light my color looks on my palette, but once I put it here, it looks very dark. Just gonna add a little bit of white. I'm not just adding white so it's a little bit easier to cover it later. Right now, what I want is more of the outline. So we'll paint the details later on. This is just a few marks here and there. If you make the belly too big or too small, it doesn't really matter. We can fix it as we do our background after. So don't be afraid to draw with your paint and not with a pencil. You can still fix things. So there are two big circles kind of, and then a triangle pointing down. And that's our basic color, or sorry, drawing. I'm just going to go ahead with the next step because I want to use the paint I have here before it dries. So I have a bluish color. I want to now do the outline for the tree here, for the branch. So this grayish color, I'm going to use it, but I'll just take lots of red, lots of yellow, and mix them together. Gives me an orangey color. And I add a little bit of the blue I had mixed initially. If you have brown or a color similar to brown, you can use that one. No need to mix this color. I'm gonna test it over here. I like that color. So I'll just draw this and then I'll repeat it just to tell you how I mixed it. But if you have brown, just use the brown you have. So again, I mixed this color by getting lots of red, a bit of red, lots of yellow, a little bit of red, it makes an orange. And then I mixed the previous blue I had, and that gives me brown. Right now, I'm not worrying too much about perfect edges here because at this point, I'm just focusing on, on the layout. After we do the background, we can go back to these edges here and fix them. So I'm done with this brown color. I'm gonna clean my brush. So now that we have, our layout here, we're gonna get started with the actual bird. So we're gonna mix blue again, but we will mix a darker blue. So I have blue, a little bit of white, Okay, you see how the blue is so bright? We need to tone it down. So we're gonna add orange, which is red and blue. It's better to add just in small amounts first. Mix it and then add more. If your color looks too green, you added too much yellow. So you need to add more red and blue. If your color looks too purple, you added too much red. So you need to add blue and yellow. I think I like this blue. It's not exact. Maybe a little bit more blue. Make sure whatever blue you're ending up with doesn't have to be exact, but make sure you mix enough so you can finish the paint, because next time when you mix it again, it'll take a long time just to get back to the same color. So this is a nice blue. I'm gonna use this one. So I'm gonna do the darker areas. And I wanted to put just a little bit of pressure on the brush, not too much. And your brush strokes should be pointing towards the direction of the feathers. So look at the picture. Where does it look darker? That's where we're gonna put our color there. I'm gonna keep going just because I don't want my paint to dry, but basically after you're done with one color, you think you have finished your darker blue, then go ahead and add white. So I'm done with my darker blue. I add white. And I tested, is it lighter? It is. So then I go for the next section. And I just keep adding white. And I just keep covering more and more areas. Sometimes I cover areas that I had already painted with a darker blue, but I noticed it needed to be lighter. So I just change it. Anytime you add more white, so I use my tape for this, but I like to put a stroke down compared to my previous white. Make sure I can see the difference. If the colors are too close together and it's really hard, I need to add more white. And I'm just gonna clean my brush and I'm gonna grab a smaller brush. So now I'm going to go to my next color, which is just adding more white. So no need to paint everything so even. You wanna have the previous colors kind of come through. So just lines, basically. And if you still have your previous colors on your palette and they're still wet, you can go back to darker colors just to keep going back and forth. So the key is to have enough difference between the dark and the light colors. So if you see that your painting is too flat, that needs more contrast, just add darker blues or lighter blues. And that's my blue. I might just go back after I finish the rest of the bird. Um, I'm gonna do the white or the gray at the bottom next, and we'll do the yellow, and then we'll do a few touches. So the idea with, I know it's a bit hard, but I think you can do it. It's just a little bit of a matter of having or being very patient and going back and forth with your colors. So have at least 4 colors or 4 shades of blue. So I have a very dark blue, a kind of a medium dark blue, then a medium light, and a very light blue. So 4 different colors of blue. So I just started with the darker one, and as I go, I just add more white to the color I already have. And by the end, it's almost just pure white that I'm using. And I just put the paint on the tip of my brush right like this. And I kind of imagine that I'm, or where the feather starts. And I just basically draw each feather individually, going down. Very little pressure on my brush. And if you need to go back to previous blues, you can do that. That's why you need to mix quite a bit of paint initially here. So you have enough to go back and forth, and you don't need to mix it all over again because it might not end up looking exactly the same. Or it'll dry very quickly. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna start with maybe the yellows. I'm gonna go a little bit ahead, or I'm gonna do things a bit faster so you can see where you want to end up. So I'm gonna go ahead with the yellow. I'm gonna clean my brush first. So to make a darker yellow, I add the opposite of, sorry, I might just need to add more blue here. So the opposite of yellow is purple on the color wheel. We make purple by mixing blue and red. And then I add the yellow. If it looks too green, I need more red. So that's a purplish color. And now I'm just adding lots and lots of yellow. If it looks too green, add red. just gonna use another palette. I ran out of space on this one. Actually, I'm gonna use the little green I have here just to kind of fix the shape of my bird so you are able to see the actual shape a little bit better. You don't have to do this until the end. It's just easier for you to see.
So if it's too green, so what do we add to make it your palette?
So, sorry, for the
background.
Yellow? Oh, for the background. So it is a kind of greenish color. So try to make it not so much like my color here, but here. So you want it to be a darker green. So if it's too bright, you can add red to make it more of a dull green.
Thank you. That's the answer I'm looking for. Thank you.
No worries. So this is if you have green and you want to do the background now, that's fine. You don't need to do this section right now. If you want to, that's fine. I just wanted to show you the actual shape because I know when we're painting the outline, things get bigger and bigger. So once we paint the background, you can go back and make things smaller. If you paint too much, you can always go back and paint the bird a little bit bigger over the green. That's fine. You can always fix things. So to mix green, you add blue and yellow. But if it's too bright, you add red to make it a bit darker. So you can see that as soon as we put a color in the background, the bird kind of it looks a little better because having a white background distracts the eye, and what's light looks darker than what it actually is. So usually when I paint in oils, using oils, I paint the background a kind of brownish color. So when I start painting, the white of the background does not distract me from the actual colors. if as you're mixing the green, some areas, some greens or a part of the green looks lighter, you actually want that. So look at the picture. Behind the bird, it's a little bit darker, and around the edges is a little bit lighter. So if you can make that, it'll look nicer. I'm just gonna use all the green I have. It'll look better if the green you have is has a little bit of red in it, so it's not so bright. And we're gonna paint the flowers after the green dries. Okay, I'm running out of green. I will leave this space for later. I'm gonna start doing the yellow. So I'm gonna clean my brush and then grab a new palette here because I ran out of space. So for the next color that I need, I'm gonna mix a dark yellow, which is basically yellow with a drop of red and a drop of blue. You may not even need the blue depending on the kind of red that you have. So I just added a drop of red and lots of yellow. The other colors are dry on my palette. So I'm gonna test it here. It looks dark. Yeah, so you can just add a tiny, tiny drop of red into your yellow. And we're gonna paint the darker areas here. And now I'm gonna clean my brush and just grab pure yellow. For a few other strokes right here. It comes up like this. I'm going back to my darker yellow and I'm doing a few more strokes. Anytime I go back to a lighter color, make sure you at least wipe your brush with a paper towel so it's not too dirty from the darker color. We can let it dry and we can put more layers after if we need to. Yeah, I'm gonna wait about 2 minutes just to let you catch up. And then after you're done with the yellow, make sure you clean your brush. And we're gonna mix the gray of white area at the bottom here. So for the gray or white area, we're gonna need a tiny drop of black. So I'm gonna get started on the gray color. You can take your time with the yellow. Just wanted to just see what color you want to end up with. So I have a little bit of black.
Silvanna, the yellow
Yeah.
does not cover the outline of the blue that we earlier have. What do we do?
Then you need to put more layers after the first one dries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When I did the darker yellow, it did cover a little bit. So you might want to try adding a little bit of red to the yellow. Some colors are very transparent, others are not so much. My red is very opaque. So once I added it to the yellow, it covered a bit more. If it's still not covering, yeah, you just let it dry and add more and more layers.
The yellow we have, it's very watery, so it does not cover at all.
Yeah, and most mine is too. I have a different.
We use the blue to do the outline earlier, so that's the way the problem is.
Yeah, you just put more layers.
And then I just have to cover the green, the blue with white and see whether it will cover up.
White, even though it's light, is a very opaque color. So you can add white to the yellow, and a lot of the times it just covers the colors. Usually some colors are transparent, like yellow. Some reds are transparent. Colors like blue or white tend to be opaque, so they cover more. So yeah, you can try adding white to the yellow and then covering the area. So you see here I have just white and black, and it covers completely the blue from before. So just add white.
But the yellow is not dark enough, just light yellow. What color do you bring it to darker yellow?
Sorry, for this kind of yellow, the lighter yellow?
Yeah, for the like earlier with the
So
yellow, but yours is darker.
Well, so here I have yellow and red, and for this part I have just yellow. But if it's not covering from like the previous or the color that is behind, you can wait for it to dry and add more yellow, more layers, or you can just add a little bit of white to the yellow that you have and make the or paint this area, whatever is not covering. White makes the color very opaque, meaning it covers what's behind. So for example, here I have just my gray, which is black and yellow, or sorry, black and white, and it covers whatever is behind. You can also put thick layers. Thick layers, you don't need to spread it all. It doesn't have to be even. In fact, the less even and the more strokes you see on birds, it looks nicer because they look like feather. I'm just adding a lighter yellow here to this area that looks a bit lighter. And then I'm gonna go back to my previous yellow, which is the medium yellow. And lastly, my dark yellow again, which is just yellow with a drop of red. Don't be afraid to go over areas that you already painted with other kind of yellows. Just look at your picture. So once you have a darker yellow, what you will do also is do this little area here, the beak of the bird. Look at the picture, the bottom one is orangey, the top one has a orangey line, but the very top is black. So I'm gonna do that. Anytime you change colors, remember to clean your brushes. Right now I have just pure black. So the eye is it's a black almond shape, and there is a blue circle around it, a dark blue circle. So make sure you don't forget to do that. And then part of that circle has white in it. So make sure you're really looking at the reference picture. And now the dots of white on the eye. So first the dot inside the black almond shape. And now the, I guess, eyelids, if that's what they're called. He has a tiny dot here. It's the hole for his nose, I guess. I'm gonna make this area just a tad darker. So if you find that you haven't really looked at your reference photo, or at least this side of the screen for, you haven't been looking very often, make sure you go back and forth and also check your drawing. You can always go back and fix things that you need to fix. Okay, so I think I'm happy with my bird. I'll give you one more minute. So now make sure you can start working on the edges of the bird. Make sure they're nice and clean. You can always go back and forth with the background to fix them. Okay, so we're gonna finish the background. So let's finish our green. Then we'll fix we'll fix the branches, and then we're gonna do the flowers. Once we're doing the branches, we'll do the legs because it's a brownish color as well. So grab a big flat brush and mix green again, which is again mainly blue and yellow and a drop of red to make it darker. So again, for green, if you have already green in a bottle, you can use it. If it's too bright, you can just add red. If you don't have green, just mix blue and yellow and then add red.
Samira, can give me see the color, what color to get a mix?
Yeah, just give me a second because I just
I want to see
ran
the
out of-
color.
Yeah, just 1 second. I just
Okay.
ran out
Thank you.
of paint here. So I'm just mixing yellow, blue, and red.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. So with the green you have, go ahead and go over a little bit over the edge of the branch. So you cover any white spaces that you have. If you put a lot of paint on the tip of the brush, it's going to be easier. So I am using a flat brush. It's easier for your lines, for your branches. Perfect. So let your green dry. Make sure the branches or the edge of the branches are either covered or you can get a little bit more brown and go over the branches. So as well. So the next color we're going to mix is the brown for the legs and a little bit of the branches as well. If you have brown already, you can use whatever brownish color you have. I think we're gonna leave the flowers for next class just because we're running out of time, but also to make sure the green is completely dry. So let's mix our brown. So clean your brush. use the brown color you have. If you don't have one, remember you mix brown by using yellow and red first. Gives you orange and a drop of blue. To make it darker. I'm gonna test it over here. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow just for some contrast. And I'm gonna see what brown I have. Just to see if I can add it to the branch that I already have. So again, you mix brown by mixing yellow and red first, and then add add blue. So now I want a little bit of a lighter brown from the previous one I had. So I had a lighter brown, and I just added black to make it darker to that same brown I had, and I'm gonna do the bottom or the lower part on the branches. So again, I just added black, and I'm sure your browns will look very different, and that's okay. Every time I mix brown, it turns out a little bit different, and that's okay. Perfect. If you're happy with your branches and with your bird, we're done for today. We're gonna do the flowers next class. It'll be very quick. We're not gonna do too much detail. And then after we finish the flowers, we're gonna go back to sketching. So the main thing for today is making sure your green is nice and even. The edges there are no white spaces between the objects.
蒋荣，老师讲这个图画今天不能完成，下个礼拜continue 點講啊？
繼續。
写就
Mandarin 啊，
上星期继续。
繼續 ，OK， 下星期繼續哈。还没有完成的，下个星期还要画那些花哈，很好很好。阿梁太啊，今日嘅畫咧畫唔完啊，仲有嗰啲花，下個星期畫啊，記得啊嚇。